Moon. Eyed people relics. Deep inside the mist-covered valleys of Appalachia, miners once swore they weren't alone underground. Not because of animals, not because of echoes, but because of them. Strange skeletal remains were reportedly found beneath collapsed stone chambers, bones unlike anything known in modern anthropology. Pale skin. Unusual skull structure. Eyes described in early settler accounts as reflective in daylight, like moonlight trapped in flesh. And then, the tunnels were sealed. Officially. Quietly. No museum displays. No verified excavation records. Just whispers. How does a civilization disappear so completely that only folklore dares to remember it? Before European settlement, North America was already a dense web of cultures, trade routes stretching like veins across forests and mountains. But Appalachian oral traditions speak of something older, something not fully human, or at least not fully understood. Stone chambers buried beneath hills, carefully aligned tunnels, markings that don't match known indigenous writing systems. When settlers arrived, reports of moon-eyed beings began to surface, not as monsters, but as displaced occupants of ancient stone structures. Were these remnants of a forgotten tribe, or misinterpretations of an even older civilization erased by time? Mainstream archaeology rejects the idea of a separate, moon-eyed race. But fringe researchers point to unexplained subterranean architecture in the region. Too structured for natural formations, too inconsistent for known cultures. No consensus exists, only silence and soil. Maybe history isn't missing people. Maybe it's missing memory itself. Uba Izard. Figures. In the dry lands of ancient Mesopotamia, archaeologists uncovered something unsettling. Small clay figurines. Human bodies, but with elongated skulls and reptilian features. Wide eyes, flat noses, almost surgical precision in shaping. Some were seated like leaders. Others held children. They weren't monsters. They were part of daily life. What if the earliest cities of humanity were already imagining beings that weren't fully human? Over 7,000 years ago, the Ubaid culture flourished in what is now Iraq. They built early villages, irrigation systems, and organized temples long before Babylon rose. Their world was not primitive. It was structured, symbolic, and deeply ritualistic, and their art reflected something unusual, beings that looked different. Some researchers argue these figures represent symbolic masks or spiritual entities. Others suggest something more controversial. Elite classes altering their appearance through ritual or genetic selection myths passed through generations. But there's no written explanation. Only clay. Mainstream archaeology sees them as religious symbolism. Alternative interpretations link them to early myth formation, possibly influencing later Mesopotamian gods described as sky beings or watchers. No proof connects them to anything physical. But the consistency of design across sites remains difficult to ignore. Sometimes the oldest art doesn't show what people were. It shows what they feared or worshipped. In 1992, in Zhejiang Province, China, a farmer drained a small pond and uncovered a series of vast underground chambers now known as the Longyu Caves. What initially appeared to be natural caverns turned out to be a network of at least 24 man-made chambers carved directly into sandstone bedrock. Archaeological examination shows consistent chisel marks on the walls, indicating the use of manual tools rather than natural erosion. The chambers are engineered with sloped ceilings, evenly spaced pillars, and carefully calculated structural support, all of which suggest advanced understanding of underground stability. Despite this, no historical records from the Han Dynasty or later periods mention their construction, and no inscriptions or tools were found inside. While some early speculation described them as mysterious lost works, modern archaeology generally agrees they are human-made quarries or chambers, though their exact purpose remains uncertain. In the Kimberley region of northern Australia, rock shelters contain striking figures known as wandjina. These large humanoid forms with pale faces, oversized eyes, and no mouths are not relics of a vanished civilization, but part of an ongoing cultural and spiritual tradition among Aboriginal groups such as the Warora, Ingarinyan, and Wunumbal peoples. The wandjina represent ancestral beings associated with rain, storms, and creation. Unlike static ancient art, these images are actively maintained and periodically repainted by custodians as part of ritual practice. Some layers of pigment may be thousands of years old, based on dating of surrounding materials and weathering analysis, but their meaning is preserved through oral tradition rather than written records. This makes wandjina art a rare example of continuous cultural transmission, spanning deep time. Long before the rise of classical civilizations, the Cucuteni Tripilia culture flourished across what is now Ukraine, Moldova, and Romania between roughly 5500 and 2750 BCE. Archaeological excavations reveal exceptionally large settlements for the Neolithic period, with some communities reaching populations of over 10,000 people. These settlements were often arranged in circular or spiral layouts, featuring closely packed multi-room houses and organized spatial planning. One of the most intriguing patterns is that many sites show evidence of intentional large-scale burning, followed by rebuilding in nearby locations. The absence of clear warfare evidence has led to competing interpretations, including ritual destruction, environmental cycles, or planned relocation strategies. Whatever the explanation, these communities demonstrate complex social organization far earlier than traditional models of urban development once suggested. Bonkuklu. Tarla is a Neolithic site in southeastern Turkey near the Tigris River, dating to approximately 10,000 and 9,000 BCE. Excavations have uncovered stone-built structures and enclosures that predate fully established agricultural societies in the region. These structures are not typical domestic houses, but appear to be communal or ritual spaces, suggesting early forms of organized gathering and symbolic activity. The site is often discussed alongside nearby early Neolithic centers, such as Göbekli Tepe, because it challenges the older assumption that agriculture preceded complex social and religious structures. Evidence from these sites suggests that shared ritual spaces may have played a role in strengthening social bonds before or alongside the development of farming. The Cascajal block is a carved stone slab discovered in Veracruz, Mexico, associated with the Olmec civilization, which developed around 1200–400 BCE. The slab contains a sequence of 62 distinct symbols arranged in repeated patterns that some researchers interpret as a possible early writing system. If confirmed, it would represent one of the earliest known forms of writing in the Americas. However, the interpretation remains debated because no other examples of the same script have been found, and there is no clear connection to later Mesoamerican writing systems such as Maya script. Some scholars consider it proto-writing or symbolic notation rather than a fully developed writing system. Its significance lies in the possibility that complex symbolic communication may have emerged earlier in the region than previously confirmed.